What's going on, boxing fans? Julian Williams with The Distance. Here to give you my number 2 for my top 5 series for this week for my top 5 matchups of 2009. My number 5 was Juan Manuel Lopez versus Rogers and Tagwe. My number 4 was Ryan Rose versus Jamie Moore. My number 3 was Bernard Dunn versus Ricardo Cordoba. And this matchup is my number 2 for the day is Juan Manuel Marquez versus Juan Diaz. This was a lightweight bout that took place like February the 28th of last year, and this was a very memorable matchup. The first time I watched this matchup, I was drunk. I was extremely drunk when I first saw this matchup, so I had to kind of watch it again. But I just remember it was very exciting watching this matchup, even though I was drunk and didn't really remember much about this matchup. But this matchup, there was just a high volume of punches thrown and landed, and there's a lot of, and really, what was odd to me was, Harold Leatherman was, I think he scored the first 3 rounds he scored the first 3 rounds for Juan Diaz. I actually thought Marquez was winning 2 out of the first 3. Because and I guess maybe because I'm watching from home or whatever, I just see the shots that Marquez is landing, but I can understand why Diaz was winning the match at the time, because the pace it was fought at, and it was in Juan Diaz's favor. Juan Diaz, from round one to round 7 was fighting at this very fast pace and through high volume of punches. He was landing the left hook at will. He was driving Marquez to the ropes, and when he was driving him to the ropes, Marquez would just throw a well-timed, well-placed shot that would actually stop Juan Diaz for a while. And he would just stop throwing punches at times, but then for a while he would stop throwing punches, then he would go back and start throwing punches again, and this actually made Marquez have to start throwing shots. And Marquez, I think, probably has the best timing in boxing. I think he throws some of the most well-timed punches in boxing. And he actually had to get out of his comfort zone, and he couldn't, sit back and just counter. He actually had to just sit there, and he had to throw in this fight. He had to throw a lot of shots, and surprisingly, Marquez was landing more shots than Juan Diaz in this fight. And Juan Diaz was winning the rounds, and he was winning the rounds on the volume of punches. And what was happening was Juan Diaz would just drive Marquez to the ropes and just start throwing a bunch of shots, and really, there were volume shots in the second round. In the second round, Juan Diaz hurt Juan Manuel Marquez with the left hook that, it actually just buckled him a bit, and he kind of recovered very fast. And I didn't even expect it to happen from Juan Diaz. I didn't think Juan Diaz was gonna hurt Juan Manuel Marquez, but then at the end of round 5. I was thinking that Juan Diaz had the match won. Just because the volume of punches. But then I believe it was rounds 1 through 6. I actually thought Marquez won 3 rounds, but I knew that in Houston, I just knew that Juan Diaz was going to win the fight if it went to a decision. So I thought, personally, before this fight, Juan Manuel Marquez was going to need the knockout. And, things were looking very bleak for Juan Manuel Marquez from rounds 1 to round 7. And when round 7 came, the matchup just slowed down a bit. Diaz, I guess, in this round 6, there was, Diaz kind of took the round off a bit, and, Marquez won that round. But, round 7, that's when the pace just slowed for Juan Diaz, and Marquez just kept countering over and over again, and then after that, Marquez had, Diaz came back in the 8th round, not in the 8th round, but yeah, in the 8th round, Diaz kind of came back a little bit, but after that, Juan Manuel Marquez had just threw like a bunch of shots, and was land the left uppercut, and I think it cut Juan Diaz. It cut Juan Diaz, and he just took advantage of it. The blood was just flowing out of that right eye, and Juan Manuel Marquez just kept throwing shots through the uppercut head, and then the matchup just changed for a while, and it was in Marquez's favor, and Marquez started to started to fight his fight, and it just changed. And then after that, round 9 came, and Diaz came out with his high work rate, was determined, but then it all changed, in a matter of seconds. When I believe it was either round 9 or round 10. I know it was very late in this fight. Juan Manuel Marquez came in and he knocked out Juan Diaz. At the at the end of the round, he knocked him down once, and then at the center of the ring, he landed a shot that just put Juan Diaz down, and the ref stopped the fight. Overall, this is like a class. This is really a classic fight. Really is I think it's a classic fight because you got two men who are throwing a very high volume of punches, against each other. Some landing, some not. But overall, it just seemed like a real all-out slugfest because both of them were fighting off of pure heart, rather than pure boxing instinct. It was just pure heart in this matchup, and I think it was Juan Manuel Marquez's power that overwhelmed Juan Diaz's work rate and high volume punches. But overall, it was a great matchup, and it was my number 2 for this week. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll be back with my number 1 tomorrow. That was The Distance. Peace.